It's now been a full year since we relocated to Bulgaria, and now I'm ready to share our hard-earned lessons. Next year will actually be the longest I've stayed in any country in the last 8 years. And I can tell you that those experiences living in Southeast Asia and in Europe and in Turkey, they do really help me see what's actually important. All this time, me and my husband, we were searching for a home base for a country that we wouldn't want to live after just 1 year, because we can't cope with the downsides that nobody is sharing with you on the internet. To help others who are planning on moving to Bulgaria, I created a full relocation guide, and I'm running an expat chat where I'm answering your questions personally. Check out the links in the description. So let's start with what scares people the most. It's bureaucracy, and I totally get it. We were there too. You land in a new country, everything is in Cyrillic, you don't know where to go, what documents do you need, if you rented the right apartment. One small detail about getting a residency here is not every apartment is good enough for your application. And then you go online, you start reading everyone else's experience, and you hear a story where somebody was shouted at the migration office. That doesn't add to your confidence. But let me tell you, once you get through the initial steps and submit your documents, life does get easier. Both me and my husband now, we have a 5-year residency permit, and it's a huge relief for us personally not to be required to apply all the time, to renew our documents all the time. And I must say that that's a privilege for people who have EU residency and their family members. So if you are non-EU, you will still have to go through this every year. But from other expats' experiences, renewals are nothing like the initial application. So yeah, no more visa runs, no more paperwork stress, and even after 5 years we would be eligible for a permanent residency, which gives us even more rights here in Bulgaria. For example, if your plan is to buy the apartment, a permanent residency will give you the opportunity to buy it with mortgage. And as to the application itself, don't worry, the migration office is not as scary as it sounds from some of the stories on the internet. The biggest downside, I would say, that even if you are given the list of documents, and I have a free checklist, you can check out the link in the description, but still, even with those documents listed, your situation is just a bit unique. And you don't know, oh, do I need this? How long should this be? Is this the right apartment? And those questions are usually not answered on the internet. You basically have to go to migration office, and if you were unsure about something, you might get rejected on that day, or they still might take your documents, but then they would tell you, okay, this and this, you have to come again and bring us them. So in my experience that I did share on this channel in the previous videos, so in my and my husband's case, he got his residency relatively quickly, in about 5 days from the day of application. So for him, of course, the main obstacle is that everything is in Cyrillic, all the documents need to be filled as well in Cyrillic, and at the migration office they speak little to no English, I would say. So I saw with my own eyes what kind of problems people face. Even if their paperwork is simple, like people with EU citizenship, still there are 1,000 little questions, and that's why I decided to create a group where I'm helping other expats personally. And if you just want someone to do everything for you and you just have to go together to the migration office, I also provide such a service. You can find all the links in the description. And for people who don't have the EU citizenship watching me and thinking of can I relocate to Bulgaria? There are two major ways for you. Is either you are officially retired and receiving a pension or social security payments, or you are self-employed or have your own small business that's been active for some time. Then you can apply as a trade representative. Some other possible ways I listed in my residency checklist that you will find in the description. You might have heard that Bulgaria is a cheap country, but prices in the whole world are going up and up. So is that still true today? I would say it depends on how you look at it and depends on your lifestyle. For example, a casual lunch for 2 people can cost you 30 to 40 euro, or about 50 to 60 in a more upscale restaurant with a nice view. Groceries for a week for 2 can cost you something like 100 euro. In my other video I shared a full walkthrough through a local supermarket, and many people actually commented that where they are in UK or in Spain or even in Germany, prices are not that much higher. So yes, if your budget is mostly groceries and eating out, I would say here you will be spending a relatively similar amount than in Western Europe or in Portugal or Spain. But for us, we still save up much more living in Bulgaria. The first big part of it is of course rent. Here we rent for about 750 euros plus bills. It can come up to about 900 euros a month. And we are in a 2-bedroom apartment where we have a separate bedroom, separate office, separate kitchen and a separate living room, and it's modern and well furnished, close to the city center. I don't think in any capital in the Western Europe and in Spain and Portugal as well, for this kind of money we would not get even close to this kind of an apartment. So yes, we would probably find a studio somewhere in not the best neighborhood, but that's not how we want to live currently. Especially now that we're working from home and spending actually a lot of time at home. I'm filming this video at home. So comfort in our apartment is one of the top priorities for us. And generally speaking, for foreigners, 1-bedrooms start at around 400. Maybe you will have to pay more in the neighborhood of 600 for a better furnished one, and 2-bedrooms maybe 700 to 9, maybe 1,000 euros a month. It will really depend on the location and on the furnishings. But like I said before, that's the biggest pro of the rental situation here, that there are so many choices available. Other daily expenses like transportation, for example, it's only a couple of euros by metro from the airport to the city center. If you take a taxi, it is maybe 10 to 15 euro depending on where you live. To see a doctor, a private one, a specialist, it's somewhere in the neighborhood from 50 to 100 euro, and an MRI would be 200 to 300 euro. So our monthly budget with everything included, groceries, eating out, housing expenses, transportation, occasional doctor, occasional shopping for clothes and house appliances. Right now it is in the neighborhood of 2 to 2,500 euros for the 2 of us. And if we include occasional travel expenses like going to Bansko or Varna or to Greece, somewhere close by, I would say we budget around 3,500 euros. So depending on your lifestyle, I would say a single person can live comfortably here even on 1.4 thousand euros, and a couple can definitely live comfortable under 2,000 euros. It will depend on how often do you want to go out, how often do you go shopping or traveling. But the downside is, of course, it's definitely not as cheap how it used to be just 3 to 5 years ago. Inflation in Bulgaria is just as high as in other parts of Europe. But our biggest savings come, of course, from the low tax, from the 10% tax and the capped social contributions. I would say definitely give Bulgaria a chance. You might find out that life here will be much more comfortable for you than in the Western Europe. And if you're looking to find a job in Bulgaria, I would say you might want to look to Western European countries, because here the salaries are one of the lowest in the whole of EU. So with the local salary, life here would feel much more expensive than you might think. For remote workers, Bulgaria offers fast and reliable internet connection. With our Wi-Fi at home, we had 0 issues during this year. It's reliable, it's affordable, it just works. We don't need to worry about it. However, there is one thing that you should be aware of as expat. When we first arrived here, we found our apartment really fast and we could move in even before Rene got his residency card. And because we needed connection right away, starting the day that we move in, we already went to the office to sign a contract for it. But there, unfortunately, we were turned away. They told us that without Bulgarian ID card, we cannot give you the contract. That was unfortunate, considering we need to work. I need to upload videos for YouTube. What do we do? So because residency for EU citizens is really quick, within a couple of days we could already come back and sign the contract. But that is definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you are a non-EU resident. In the beginning, you will be here on a Visa D. Visa D is usually for 6 months, so companies would probably be hesitant to give you a full 1 or 2 years contract. So just do it either like we did, ask if they can sell you a SIM card with unlimited data, or maybe talk to your landlord. They might be willing to get you a contract in their name. When you're thinking about a big capital city, you usually don't picture the mountains or hot springs or hiking trails. But Sofia might surprise you. The city is surprisingly very green. There are good, well-maintained parks almost everywhere. There are several really big parks in the city. And the city itself is not that big. This is not New York. But it's really easy here to just escape the concrete jungle and go to one of the big parks. You can get there within 10 to 15 minutes by public transport from anywhere in the city. And actually a couple of neighborhoods preferred by expats where rentals are a bit higher, but they are right next to those huge, well-maintained parks. On the weekend you can always go hiking to the Vitosha mountain or to Bankia, or a bit further away outside Sofia, or go to the lake at Panacharova. Even if you don't have a car, public transportation will take you to most of those locations. And I think for us, working from home, it gives us the perfect balance. If we don't want to be stuck at home on the weekend, we can easily go to one of the locations that I mentioned. There are not that many big cities that give you such conveniences, and if you're a nature person but you still need the conveniences of big cities, I would say give Sofia a chance. And Bulgaria is a mid-sized country. It's not that big, but you still have the mountains, you have the ski resort Bensko, you have historic cities like Plovdiv or Veliko Ternava, and you have the Black Sea coast. But let's get real for a second. Black Sea coast cannot compare with the Mediterranean. The sea is not as blue, the whole vibe is a bit more low-key. The amenities and the hotels are not as luxurious as you might find on the Mediterranean. Not that there are absolutely no luxurious options to be found. If I am completely honest, I would say that I would prefer to just hop in a car and in 4 hours I can already be on the Mediterranean in Greece. But having this opportunity in just 4-hour drive to already be at the Mediterranean, that is definitely something that we really appreciate. And the Black Sea has 2 big livable cities, Varna and Burgas, and they are very popular choices for retirees. And I can see why, because for your daily life you don't care so much how blue is the sea. You just want this seaside city vibe. And I can definitely see myself and Rene relocating to a city like that in the future, maybe when we decide to retire. Bulgaria is not a country of casual chit-chat with a stranger. People are not so big on small talk here. But one thing that I personally notice, and one of my American clients actually told me exactly the same thing. For example, in the US, a country where chit-chat is more common, people don't have problems talking to strangers, but there is an issue of making a deeper connection, especially when you're in an older age. People tend to stick to their group of friends and do not socialize or make new friends outside of it. Here in Bulgaria, I do think that people are less likely to start a small conversation with you out of nowhere, but if you get passed through those initial steps, some way, somehow, in a social situation, you actually are more likely to gain a good, true friend. A friendship that will last. In communities like this, friendships usually solidified by doing small favors to each other, just out of nowhere, even without asking. So if someone wants to pay for your lunch or just help you in some small way, let them do it and return the favor, and you might gain yourself a new true friend. The downside of it, of course, if you are more reserved and introverted, you might struggle to start those conversations, to start those friendships. And I myself can understand that perfectly, and from my experience, usually in a new place, it's easiest to make connections with the expats who are in the same situations, in the same boat as you. And that was part of the reason I started the Q&A chat and group. The community is growing, and I'm looking forward to organizing meetups and help each other to feel at home in Bulgaria. Cyrillic alphabet keeps being mentioned again and again as one of the big cons of moving to Bulgaria. And well, let's just say how it is. Yes, Cyrillic is definitely different from Latin. When you first arrive, you might struggle to read the signs or read the documents that you need to submit for your residency application. But I encourage you to look at it this way. This is not Georgian script or Thai script. Those two countries are also popular with expats, Georgia and Thailand. And there I used to go to a Thai language school in Thailand for 6 months, and I barely learned how to read. Here, I would say, if you come from a country that uses Latin script or you already speak English, then learning Cyrillic must take you, I don't know, a week or two. And many signs are actually also in English. Even at the restaurants, in a small one, probably yes, it will be only in Cyrillic. But in bigger chains, it's always in English as well. And the waiters speak English, and people in shops where you buy the mobile phone or some appliances, there you will always find someone who speaks at least a little bit of English. The only situation where you might need the help of a translator is again the migration office when you're applying for residency, official offices like the tax office or similar. But those situations, they are one and done, so once you're done with that, you are not going there again, at least not for some time. So I don't see that as a big obstacle for expats. All in all, actually learning Bulgarian would require some effort if you decide to stay here. But for the first year or two, I don't think that it's absolutely necessary to learn it. And I can understand when you don't know if you're staying in the country, you don't want to commit to learning such a language. It definitely takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and maybe you will be gone in a year and it was all for nothing. So for the first year or two, I would say definitely this is not required of you to learn. If you decide to stay long term, I would say to feel comfortable, to feel at home, yes, you should learn it. But again, even if you really don't want to and you're okay with just having your small group of expat friends, I say you can definitely live here forever and ever without ever learning Bulgarian. But like in any country, learning the language will definitely make your life more comfortable and relaxed. If this video helped you get some clarity, don't miss the part 2. Who actually shouldn't be moving to Bulgaria and the reality behind the 10% tax, why so many foreigners overpay for their housing, and the truth about the healthcare. And after everything that we've experienced in the last year, do we actually regret moving to Bulgaria?